Greetings, it's Iain from RTO here. Welcome to the start of another week on the channel. We're going to kick off this week with part 3 of the Tony Martin story and a band that he got involved with called Empire. Now, Empire are a British-German heavy metal band that were founded by former Majesty guitarist Rolf Monks in the year 2000. He recruited Neil Murray on the bass and first singer Lance King and drummer Gerald Clues. They've had one or two lineup changes. They brought in a keyboardist, being Don Airy, and Tony Martin sang on 2 albums. So Tony has now left Empire and they brought in ex-Rainbow and MSG singer Doogie White, So they've released 4 albums. They're all very good albums, actually. There's not much between them. So we'll have a look at the 4 albums. So coming in at number 4, we do have the debut album from 2001, Hypnotica. Now it's Rolf Monks on the guitars, Neil Murray on the bass, Lance King on vocals and Gerald Clues on the drums. Opening track is a very short introduction called Hypnotica. A little bit of keyboards in here and it goes straight into a song called Fall in Love. Some nice guitar work on this. I love Gerald's drumming on this. You've got a great bass line from Neil Murray, a real solid track. Then the next track is called Into the Light. I love the guitar work on this. Got some nice interplay here between Rolf and Neil, but the singing is a little bit weak from Lance. He does struggle with some of these notes. You're all what start again, Ian. You're all that I'm looking for. It's okay. The vocals just don't punch out at me. Spread My Wings, solid track. Does what it says on the tin, really. Bad Boy comes next. Rolf's guitar work is good at the beginning. Some great drumming from Gerald on this one. Pretty good track. Here I Am. I think this is a very good track. It's very melodic. It's got a good bass line as ever from Neil. I do like that track. I Will Always Be There. Very commercial sounding. I just do think it does lack that punch on the vocals. A Different Sign, really good track. It's a very short piece, very good swirly keyboards, and then it goes into my favourite track on here, and it's called Shelter, which is probably the best vocal from Lance. The driving riffs, they got it all right on this one. It's a pretty damn good track. Back to Me, a bit of a power ballad. It's okay. Then we get the last track, Another Place, Another Time. Till it's Monday, all the album covers fall off. I would just call this a typical last track on the album, an afterthought track, just to fill the album up. Yeah, it's a good album. It's got some great playing on here, but I think the vocals are a little bit weak in places. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 3, we have the second album from 2003, Trading Souls. We've got Rolf Monks on guitars, Neil Murray on bass and Gerald Clues on the drums, but joining them now on vocals, Mr. Tony Martin, and on the keyboards, Mr. Don Airy. So the first track on here is called 1 in a Million. Get that great keyboard tone from Don. Fine vocal from Tony, as I've given this band a little bit more spring. It's a really good opening track. Payback Time. Some interesting backing vocals. I'm not quite sure if it's an overdub of Tony or it's the others joined in, and I know Neil can sing backing vocals because I've heard him. So yeah, it's a really good track. I like that one quite a lot. Then we get Teenage Deadhead, some nice guitar work on this. It's a very genteel sort of track. Some lovely drumming on here from Gerald. A pretty good track. Big word, little man. Great vocal from Tony. That powerful voice comes through here. Some great riffs on this one as well. Then we get my favourite track on here, and it is called You. It's probably the best vocal on this album from Tony. Great bass line from Neil. Then great riffs as well. It's an absolute gem of a track. Perfect Singularity, solid track. From top to bottom, the whole track is absolutely brilliant. Wherever I Go, again, one of my favourite tracks on this album. It's a great vocal from Tony. Killer guitar solo on here from Rolf. Pretty decent track. Did you ever love me? As I've said before, Tony Martin can sing real fast, thrashy metal to good rock or a nice ballad. That's pretty good. Coming Home, probably my least favourite track on here, but it's not a bad track. I just think it lacks a little bit of beef somewhere, but Tony's vocals are spot on. Typical. The next track is Back in the Light. Another one of those afterthought tracks, I think, but what I like about it is the drumming is absolutely brilliant. Once again, a very good album. Tony's now on board. The sound has changed. He has brought a bit more to the table. It's a very good debut album for Tony. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, then coming in at number 2, we have the fourth and most current album from 2007, Chasing Shadows. Changing lineup again. You've still got Rolf Monks and Neil Murray, but now joining them is Andre Hilgers on drums and Doogie White on the vocals. First track on this one is the title track called Chasing Shadows. Good start for Doogie. I do like Doogie's vocals. The guitar work is brilliant, and the rich bass line from Neil Murray is pretty good. Then we get the altar, driving riffs from Ralph. This new drummer, Andre Hilgers. Great double bass sound on this. Pretty good. It's a really meaty drum beat on that one. Mother, Father, Holy Ghost. Great track. Again, the brilliant riffs. Can't go wrong with that one. Sail Away, dominated by a Neil Murray bass line. Coming through. Great guitar work. Doogie's on fire. Absolutely on fire. Great singer. Child of the Light. Some of the best vocals from Doogie on this. Great guitar solo from Rolf as well. How do you pronounce this? Tahawiwan Nights. Solid track. Andre's drumming is brilliant. That lovely double bass drum roll. Then we get my favourite track on here. It's called Manic Messiah. It's probably one of the best bass lines from Neil Murray on the Empire albums, and Doogie's vocal is terrific on that. Angel and the Gambler, one of them chuggy riffs that it sort of plods, but it's a good plod, and a great vocal from Doogie. A story told. It's a different bit of pace. It's a bit ballady in places. Really strong track though. The Rulers of the World is the last track on here. It's another great album track to end for once. Neil Murray's bass line is pretty good. This is a great album. There's not a bad track on it really. Doogie was a great replacement for Tony. Some great guitar work from Rolf as well. I really like this album, so I should give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. But my favourite album by this band is their third album from 2006, The Raven Ride. It's the same lineup as the second album, Rolf Monks, Neil Murray, Gerald Clues, Tony Martin and Don Airey. This opens up with the title track, The Raven Ride. This is Tony Martin at full flight. Stunning vocal. Don Airy's keyboards is pretty good in this. You just give this track a little bit of atmosphere. Then we get Breathe. Some great riffs here from Rolf. They've developed sound now. They've got it just right on here. The guitar solo is really strong as well. Carbon-based Lifeform. Great bass line from Neil. Gritty vocal from Tony. They've really cranked up the production now. It is absolutely brilliant. Satanic Curses, my favourite Empire track. It just sounds like Black Sabbath, to be quite honest, when Tony Martin was in Black Sabbath. We've got that great bass line from Neil. Great vocal from Tony, his best in Empire. He really give it all on this. Absolutely brilliant track. Then we get a track called Al Sarat, The Bridge to Paradise. This is an interesting track. It's got a great bass line. It's got this sort of atmospheric keyboard from Don. Pretty good track. What do I do? What would you... Start again, Ian. What would I do? Very gentle track. This side again shows that gentler side of Tony's singing. Some really nice guitar work on this as well. Changing World comes now. Another great vocal from Tony. Don Airy's keyboards are great on this. Gives it that atmosphere. Then we get Maximum, which has got a killer bass line from Neil Murray. Tony's vocals are on fire. Rolf's churning out some great riffs. It's a really good track. I Can't Trust Myself. Very solid track. Just a good metal song. Then we get the last track on the album. It's called The Devil Speaks, The Sinner Cries. What a great track. Second best vocal from Tony. Second best track on the album. It's eerie. It's atmospheric. Great way to end the album. My favourite album, because I think this band was morphing into something good. This is the album they got all it perfect. The first two albums they started to develop and start sorting out that sound, but they got it right on album 3, which they continue to do after Tony left. But I think Tony is a great singer. I can't praise this guy enough. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So there we go. There's part 3. Part 4 next week is a band that was called the Guinty project, which he sang on, I think, 3. He sang on the 3 albums, and it's an Italian guitarist called Aldo Guinty. So looking forward to that one. I don't think any of these albums will feature in Battle Royale, but if they do, you know how to put them in. Go to the video and put your nominee in the comments below the video. Closing date is the 17th of September, and we start the battles on Thursday the 5th of October. I'll be back later with another classic album, and there's another one from the 2000s, and we're looking at the debut self-titled album from Franz Ferdinand. So join me for that later. Bye for now.